everyone. I'm Abigail. This is Megan, and welcome to another Two Keys interview. We are joined by New York Times bestselling author Rita Williams-Garcia. Some of her books include Jumped, Clayton Bird Goes Underground, P.S. B11, A Sitting in St. James, No Laughter Here, One Crazy Summer, Gone Crazy in Alabama, and more. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
In your children's books, how are your books influenced by your own childhood?
Oh, that's a very good question. Well, some of my stories, especially the ones that are written from like way back in time, from the 1960s, I get to use some of the things that I remember from that period and how childhood was just slightly different. Slightly, maybe very different. And so I get to use things that I know firsthand. Um, and I have a little help with that. I use things like my very own, okay, diary. This is my actual diary from 1967 through 68. So I was about like 10 years old when I was writing this stuff. And so it was fun for me to flip through it and see like what I was thinking, what I was up to, and how badly I spelled uh, when I was writing all this stuff. So it kind of helps keeps me grounded, and it helps me to remember some of the things that were happening back then.
Did you write a lot as a child?
Oh, yes, I did. Well, I fell in love with writing very early. So when I was in kindergarten, I would always ask for paper and pencil so I could write my poorly spelled stories. But I was always writing. I got to the point when I was about 12 that I said, okay, let's get serious. You know, we have to build this writing muscle. So I would write 500 words every night of this story that I was writing. This story wasn't any good, but it helped me develop my muscle, and I developed confidence, and I learned how to kind of craft dialogue and stuff. So yeah, so I was always writing.
How do you come up with the ideas for your books?
Mm, well, yeah, I think every book is a little different. Sometimes it's a topic that I want to talk about. Like I always knew I wanted to introduce the Black Panthers to a younger audience because I grew up during the time that the Black Panthers were like first on the scene. I remembered how I thought about them, that I was both excited and also a little scared. Um, and so I thought, I think I want to take that on. I want to talk about that, but from a child's point of view. So sometimes it's the topic, or sometimes I'm just staring off into the distance and a voice will speak to me. And then I begin to hear more and more of that voice. And I then want to create a character around it and build a story.
What is your process when putting a book together? Do you decide the end before the middle, or do you put it together in order?
Oh, very good. Well, again, it all depends on the story. But one of the first things that I do is I daydream. I do stare off into space and I really think about, what is it that I want to do? What journey do I want my characters to take? Where do I want them to end up? And even though I think about those things, that changes as I actually start to write. But one of the other things that I do is, well, I am a hand writer. This is my chicken scratch. And so what I do is I when I wake up in the morning, I tell myself the story. I handwrite it in like one page, what is going to happen in the story. And every time I do that, something opens up. Then I get to the point where I feel like, okay, there is a story here. I have a feeling of where it's going to go. Let me dig deeper into my character and see, you know, if the character agrees, if that's their journey. And then bit by bit, I start to write scenes, dialogue. I start to research a little so that I know what I'm talking about. But I handwrite a lot first before I even begin to think about typing and, you know, making it look like a manuscript.
Good at daydreaming. My teachers don't always like that. Can I tell them it's okay and it's part of my process?
Oh, most definitely. Where would we be without activating our imagination? And that comes from just clearing your mind and opening your thoughts. So it is the writer's meditation and process to daydream.
Writing isn't easy, and rejection seems to be a big part of most writers' story. Was that a part of your journey at all?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Well, I started sending out my stories when I was about like 12 years old, and I would like type them up. My sister had a typewriter, so she would rent it out to me for like 10 cents an hour, and I would type my stories and send them out to publishers. And within a few weeks, if I was lucky, I would then get a rejection letter. And it didn't discourage me a whole lot because I felt like, oh, someone in publishing read my story. Then after a while, it that kind of feeling started to wear off, and I really wanted someone to publish one of my stories. But rejection is a part of the writing process. My stories get rejected today. It doesn't matter that I have award-winning titles. If a publisher feels that my story is not quite right for them, or that they see it a little differently, then I have to move on. Um, and so, but one of the things that rejection gives you is an opportunity to look at your story from another point of view. You know, how else can I make this better? Can I make it a little different? Oh, I never thought of that. That was very good feedback that that editor gave me. So then I might, like take another crack at the story, try it again. Or sometimes I might have to just move on to something else. But then I always come back later to the one that I always feel like very strongly about, until it finds its place, its publishing home.
Can you tell us about a time where you were doing something and saw something or someone and thought, I need to put that in a book?
That's I I think that that's almost always. Wow. Well, I did write a story called Jumped, which you mentioned in the intro. And this story it's a YA book, young adult. And there was a period where every time I opened up the newspaper, I would see like headlines about teens fighting, um, and mostly girls, like girls ganging up on maybe another girl or something like that. And I just thought to myself, wow, why is this happening? And then my youngest daughter, happened to come home and say, Mom, there was a fight at school. And it just made me say, hmm, it just feels like such an outbreak. Um, and I wanted to dive into it even more to understand what was going on. Why did girls at that particular time feel so competitive or threatened that they felt that they had to attack another person? And so I do take on difficult subjects like that, but just wanted to understand it better, and so that's where the story Jumped comes from. Thank you.
When somebody when somebody reads one of your books, what do you hope they will get out of it?
Ooh, oh well, actually, I always like hope. it's going to be life-changing, it's going to really have an impact. These are like the like writer fantasy, like someone will come to me and say, your story changed my life, or something like that. But honestly, I really hope um, that they engage, that they sit down and they see something maybe that they didn't see before, that it made them think about something that they'd never considered, or that they went on a journey and they said, "Wow, that was really something," I but I think I really like hearing from people who um, maybe they don't understand my story. And so I get a chance to hear from their point of view, and like, and take their questions and answer them. I think I like interacting with my readers. And it can't always be, Rita, you changed my life.
After you finished your first draft, how much do you revise the book?
Oh, I do a lot. And I guess I do a lot before I let anyone read it because my first drafts are awful. They're just for me to read because no one can make any sense of it. I'm still that bad speller. I have to fix my grammar like crazy. But I often have to, I put a lot of filler words in because I don't have just the right words. So it takes me a long time to get the language of my book down, the language of the characters, to then stop making it sound so important and make it sound maybe a lot more natural. So it takes a long time for me to do that. And but also getting the order of the story right, because it's so easy for me to well, I really like writing about this, but I spent too much time on that and it doesn't really go here. So making sure that everything is in the right place and in the right proportion.
What writer has had the most influence on you?
Oh goodness. Well, let's see, the writer, oh, there are so many, but I think Toni Morrison was very important to me. Toni Morrison wrote The Bluest Eye back in the 60s. And I read that book when I was in college. It is about a girl, a very troubled girl, and how she feels about herself, and how that negative impact, um, um, just it kind of destroys her from the inside. And so so that it was a very challenging kind of book for me to read, because it wasn't heroic in a very traditional sense. And it helped me to really understand the human condition, that not everybody, it's not going to be good guys versus bad guys. And that humans are human and they come with human complications. So Toni Morrison really helped me a lot, I think.
You're talking about Toni Morrison. Does it concern you that hers and other books get banned?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Um, what are people afraid of? Books are the elevation, books and art, they're the elevation of the soul. They lift us up. They take us to places that maybe physically we can't go there. Maybe we can't talk to those people, but we can read books and we can have greater understanding. I think people who ban books don't want us to understand each other. And so my issue is that they have the power, um, to dictate who gets read, what are the stories, and who gets excluded, and uh, and it deprives us all of humanity, of a greater understanding, and of some really, really good books. So it's not just the complicated Toni Morrison books that are banned, but it's beautiful stories with kids of different, different races and ethnicities and abilities and gender or sexual orientation or different family. Their families are made up very differently than what we might say is traditional, and so by doing that, we just exclude more and more of the American story, of the world story. And what is the sense in that? Why exclude people? I don't understand it.
We interviewed Alex Gino the other day, who has had books banned. It's very sad.
It is. I think we can trust young people a lot more. It's as if it's an insult to young people to say, "Oh, just because you read this book, then that is going to change who you are." Well, it might change you in a very positive way, in that you see people, you get to truly see people the way they want to be seen. But I think young people have very critical minds, like you two. I think you're able to read something and ask good questions and not accept everything, and think for yourselves. I think that's part of of developing, being able to kind of question something and say, I really didn't agree with how the author handled that. But see, that's your own thought. That's not someone imposing thought on you. And I think you're all capable of being able to do that.
What advice do you have for young people who want to write?
Ooh, I think I have the same old advice that everyone else has, which is basically read, 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 and you have to write. But I just want to add to that. One of the fun things of my childhood was that I got to run around and do a whole lot of things. Um, like we were, I guess you would call us free range children. So we'd go to school by ourselves, come home, go to the library, go to the like soccer field or baseball, kickball. Ride our bikes, get on our skates and skateboards, and just do all kinds of things. Travel around in packs and go to the beach and wade in the water and stuff. We got to just run around and do things and have a lot of what I guess I would call kid fun and adventures. And so the more things that you do, the more things you're exposed to, the more ideas you can have, the more things that you can relate and like if you like science and you're a writer, then you can compare this with that. You can have create more imagery through your writing, more analogies. If you like cooking, if you so it's important to not just write, but to also live and do things and go out there and have some fun.
That's big advice. Do you also have a smaller tip? Something you do
Smaller.
when you're writing? That maybe a
Yes.
lot of people don't.
Okay. I write a little every day. And when I say a little, I mean a little. Because back in the old days, I used to write 500 words a day. Well, I don't write 500 words a day. Sometimes it's just a really good sentence or um, a um, a rhyme or um, a question that I asked myself, but I put it in words, and I just use my language a little bit every day.
Finally, it's time for our Turbo 10. 10 rapid fire questions. Are
Oh,
you ready?
I am.
Let's go. Number one, what is your favorite phrase to use?
Um, know if I have one. I, I don't think I have one.
Number 2. What is one subject you'd love to learn more about?
Oh, cooking always. I love food and I can't cook, but I love like exploring foods from all different places, different tastes.
Number 3. What is your go-to snack food?
My go-to snack food is I make my own granola. Um and it has like peanut butter, pumpkin seeds, oats, walnuts, cranberries, and rice syrup or date syrup. And did I say peanut butter? Yes, lots of peanut butter. Yeah.
Number 4. What was your favorite book growing up?
My favorite book was okay, I have a lot, but okay. I will say 31 Brothers and Sisters. It's a story about a daughter of an African chief who wants to go on the hunt with her father, and girls are not allowed on the hunt. It just reminds me of me wanting to box with my father, or wanting to run on the football field with my dad and my brother, but girls back then girls aren't allowed, so 31 Brothers and Sisters.
Number 5. If you could teleport somewhere right now, where would you go?
Oh, teleport somewhere right now. Um, Tuscany, Italy. I just I look at a lot of coffee table books and a lot of film on Italy, and Tuscany region is like my favorite. It's so picturesque, and it looks like you could just walk for miles and miles and miles in the olive fields and the vineyards and stuff like that. I love nature.
Number 6. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh, it would be to superpower. Hmm, teleport. Because I don't like to fly.
Number 7. What was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
Oh, favorite cartoon. Let's see. Um, I liked I like Hot Wheels.
Number 8. What was your favorite rainy day activity?
Rainy day activity, coloring, my coloring book with my sister. I could never color as well as she. She was like an artist, but I would grind my crayons into nothingness, coloring, and mine would look all grimy, but and hers would look beautiful, but I didn't care. I just keep coloring, keep scribbling.
Number 9. If you could have any 3 dinner guests, who would they be?
Oh, oh my goodness. Okay. One would be my grandmother Mary, because I did not get to spend enough time with her, and I learned that we both love boxing. And then also, let's see, I would like to have Toni Morrison, and I would like to also have oh goodness, I would like to have Clarissa Shields. She is a boxer. And I find her like she's very confident, very strong, and she's an excellent boxer. So I like so honestly, I think that's what I want to talk about is boxing all day long with the side of writing.
Number 10. What is the best piece of advice you were ever given?
Oh, just to keep going. Don't put any roadblocks in front of my steps. Just even when it seems like things are impossible, find a way. Just keep going.
You did fabulously. Thank you so much for doing that. And thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Well, thank you so much for this invitation. This was hard, y'all, but it was great. Thank you so much. You two are pros.